Let me start with a question that reaches all the way into the part of you that's tired of being taken for granted. Have you ever realized that the most powerful moment in a man's life isn't when he says something, but when he finally says nothing? Think about that. There comes a day, quiet, unannounced, almost sacred, when a man reaches a level of clarity so deep that he no longer explains, no longer argues, no longer tries to prove his worth. He simply steps back into himself and disappears from her world without anger, without bitterness, without noise. And that's the moment she never prepared for, because she expected emotion, she expected one last call, she expected the door to stay cracked open. She never expected your silence. She never imagined you would outgrow the version of you who used to wait for her, hope for her, hurt for her. And when it finally hits her, when she looks at her phone and realizes the man she thought would always reach out has truly, finally, completely stopped, that moment becomes a storm inside her, a collapse of certainty, an ego shatter, a realization that your absence is more powerful than your presence ever was. Your silence becomes the truth she can't run from. You won't be calling again. And in that moment, she doesn't lose your attention. She loses the version of you she thought she had control over. Before we dive deeper into this transformation, do me one thing: hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to join the Stoic soldiers, and drop this empowering phrase in the comments to lock it into your identity. My silence is my power. Now, let's begin. A man's absence carries a weight that his words never could, because silence forces a woman to confront something she spent the entire relationship avoiding: the reality of your value. When you were there, she could overlook you. When you called, she could delay responding. When you opened your heart, she could take her time. But when you disappear, truly disappear, her mind has nothing left to distract itself with. Your silence becomes the loudest sound she's ever heard. It echoes in her thoughts, fills the space where your presence used to be, and exposes the parts of her that depended on your reassurance. A woman can ignore your texts, but she cannot ignore the void created when they stop coming. That void makes her question everything. Why isn't he reaching out? Has he moved on? Does he not care anymore? Did I push him too far? The same silence that once felt peaceful to you becomes unsettling to her, because your absence removes the emotional safety net she unconsciously relied on, and that's why your silence hits harder than your words ever did, because words can be dismissed, debated, or rationalized, but absence forces a confrontation with truth. It forces her to feel your value without you having to prove it. And most importantly, it forces her to realize she misjudged you. She thought your attachment made you predictable. She never imagined your discipline could make you unforgettable. When you stop calling, something fundamental shifts beneath the surface. A quiet but undeniable power shift that she feels long before she can admit it. For the first time, she's not the one choosing the pace of the connection. You are. She's no longer in control of how the story unfolds, no longer able to rely on your effort to maintain the bond, no longer able to place you on emotional standby while she explores her options or feeds her ego. Your detachment breaks the dynamic she once depended on, because as long as you were the one reaching out, she had the upper hand. Your calls meant predictability, comfort, validation. But when you fall silent, everything she assumed about you collapses. She realizes you're not chasing. You're not playing the role she assigned you. You're not orbiting her world anymore. And that's when the panic begins, because she never expected you to choose yourself. She never expected you to rise in value the moment you stopped offering it. When you detach, you stop reinforcing her power, and you reclaim your own. Your silence becomes a declaration. You will not be controlled by emotion, by memory, or by someone else's indifference. You're moving on, leveling up, rebuilding, and returning to your center. And whether she admits it or not, your detachment forces her to see the truth. You were never the weak one, she just underestimated the strength it took for you to walk away. The moment she senses the shift, her entire emotional landscape begins to change. Slowly at first, then all at once. At the beginning, she might shrug it off, convincing herself you're just busy or taking space. But as the hours turn into days and the days into quiet, unforgiving nights, the realization begins to sink into her chest like a stone. You're not coming back. That's when the first wave hits. Confusion. She rereads your old messages, trying to find the moment she lost you. She checks your social media, trying to decode your silence. She wonders if she missed a sign, a signal, a warning. Then confusion turns into curiosity. She wants to know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, whether you've replaced her or simply forgotten her. Curiosity then becomes irritation, because your silence challenges her pride. It contradicts the version of herself she believed in, the version where she was irreplaceable. And irritation always leads to anxiety. She starts imagining scenarios. What if you're happier without her? What if another woman has your attention? What if you finally realized she wasn't as rare as you once believed? And then comes the final phase, regret. Quiet, heavy, unexpected regret. The kind that makes her question why she pushed you away, why she took your effort for granted, why she thought your love was guaranteed. Your silence forces her to feel everything she avoided when she still had you. And in that emotional storm, she finally understands the truth. Your silence wasn't the punishment. It was the awakening. She expected you to chase because, in her mind, you always would. Not out of arrogance, but out of pattern, out of familiarity, out of the comfort of knowing your heart was available any time she wanted to tap into it. She grew accustomed to the softness in your voice, the consistency in your effort, the loyalty you gave without question. And somewhere along the way, she confused your devotion for dependence. She mistook your loyalty for a lack of options. She interpreted your emotional honesty as emotional weakness. Modern dating has conditioned many women to believe that men who care deeply will care forever, that no matter how cold she becomes, no matter how inconsistent she acts, no matter how dismissive or distant she grows, the man with the biggest heart will crawl back simply because he feels more. She expected you to return because it fed her ego, soothed her insecurities, and allowed her to maintain control. And the truth is, she didn't expect to lose you because she didn't believe you had the strength to walk away. But what she failed to understand is that when a man reaches his limit, when he reclaims his self-respect, rebuilds his confidence, and redirects his energy inward, he becomes someone she no longer recognizes. A man who once chased becomes a man who no longer needs the chase. A man who once waited becomes a man who no longer checks his phone. A man who once hoped becomes a man who finally chooses himself. She expected you to chase because she never believed you'd outgrow her. But now that you have, everything she thought she knew about you begins to fall apart. There comes a moment, a specific, unforgettable moment, when the illusion finally breaks. She unlocks her phone, expecting to see your name, expecting the familiar notification, expecting your voice to reach out like it always did. And instead, she sees nothing. No missed calls, no unread messages, no stories viewed, no subtle signs that you're still orbiting her world. And that quiet emptiness hits harder than any words you ever could have said. At first, she tells herself it's just a phase. She refreshes the screen as if your message might magically appear. She tells herself you're probably busy or tired or distracted, but the longer she stares at that silent screen, the heavier it feels. Because deep down, she can sense the truth. Your energy is gone. Your attention is gone. You are gone. That's when her stomach sinks. That's when the memory reel starts playing. Every moment she ignored you, every time she brushed you off, every time she treated you like you'd never leave. She realizes you're not waiting around anymore. You're not checking up on her. You're not replaying old conversations. You've stepped out of her life and into your own. And that's when panic hits her chest, because your silence isn't passive. It's intentional. It's disciplined. It's the silence of a man who healed, leveled up, and found peace without needing her to validate any of it. The day she checks her phone and sees nothing is the day she realizes she lost something rare. A man who actually cared. A man she thought she could always come back to. A man who finally chose himself. And that realization, it stays with her long after the silence becomes normal. This is where the real battle begins, not in your world, but in hers. Once your silence settles in, once she realizes the door has closed completely, an internal war starts brewing inside her. It begins with curiosity, the harmless kind at first. She wonders what you've been doing, who you're talking to, whether you still think about her at night. She checks your profiles more often than she'll ever admit. She looks for subtle hints of your life without her, hoping to see something, anything, that suggests she still occupies space in your mind. But curiosity quickly transforms into regret, the kind that hits her unexpectedly while she's alone, lying awake, replaying every moment she pushed you away. She remembers the messages she ignored, the cold replies she sent, the times she made you feel like you weren't enough. And now, for the first time, she feels the weight of her decisions. She wonders why she didn't try harder, why she didn't appreciate you, why she assumed you'd always be there. And then comes the final wave, the one she fears the most, the fear of replacement. Her mind begins creating scenarios that cut deeper than she ever imagined. She wonders if you're talking to someone new, if another woman is appreciating the parts of you she overlooked, if someone else is benefiting from your loyalty, your consistency, your presence. That fear is powerful because it strikes at the heart of her ego. She didn't think she could lose you. She never thought someone else could take her place. But now she imagines you smiling with someone new, living freely, growing stronger, becoming the man she wasn't ready for. And nothing shakes a woman more than realizing she's been replaced, not by another person, but by your self-respect. This internal war, curiosity, regret, fear of replacement, slowly eats away at her confidence, and all of it began the moment you chose silence over chasing, healing over hurting, and self-respect over old patterns. This is the power she never saw coming. Your silence isn't revenge. It isn't a tactic. It isn't a game. Your silence is growth, and whether she wants to or not, she feels that. Because silence is not the absence of emotion, it's the presence of evolution. When you stop calling, when you stop reaching out, when you stop replaying the past, you begin sending a message far louder than any breakup speech ever could. You have outgrown the version of yourself who needed her approval to feel whole, and she senses it. She sees it in the way you move differently on social media, the way you carry yourself with more confidence, the way you aren't afraid to stand in your own life without her shadow hovering over your choices. Women are intuitive. They feel energy shifts long before they understand them. And your silence tells her you're no longer trying to win her back, no longer negotiating your worth, no longer waiting for closure that you eventually realized you could give yourself. Your silence tells her that you've stopped seeing her as the center of your world and started seeing yourself as the center of your own. It tells her you're healing, leveling up, rebuilding. It tells her you've filled the gaps she created with new habits, new discipline, new standards. And the painful truth for her is this: The man you're becoming is the man she always wanted you to be. But now he's becoming that man without her. Your silence becomes a reminder of what she lost, but even more powerfully, it becomes a reminder of what you gained. Clarity, composure, and control. You didn't go silent to hurt her. You went silent to save yourself. And that, ironically, is the exact moment she realizes your silence isn't avoidance. It's evolution. Eventually, the silence becomes too heavy for her to carry alone. The confusion, the regret, the curiosity, the fear, they all build up inside her until she reaches a point she never expected. She wants you back. And this moment doesn't come with fireworks or grand gestures. It arrives quietly, almost timidly, as she starts testing the waters to see if the door is still open. She might like an old photo, watch your stories more often, leave a subtle comment, or even send a casual "hey," as if the history between you two could be undone with a single word. But beneath those small actions lies something much deeper. A realization that she misjudged your strength, underestimated your growth, and misunderstood your breaking point. She reaches out because she wants validation, closure, or maybe even a second chance. But what she truly wants is the version of you she can no longer access. And here's where the Stoic man stands apart. You don't respond with bitterness. You don't respond with desperation. You don't respond with excitement that she finally noticed your worth. You respond with clarity. Because the man she's trying to reach is not the man she left behind. She's reaching out to a version of you that learned how to live without her, a version of you who healed the parts she wounded, a version of you who no longer mistakes attachment for love. And that's what stuns her the most: your calmness, your self-possession, your unbothered energy. She expected a man who still needed her. She found a man who finally needed himself. When she tries to come back, everything becomes clear. Her timing isn't aligned with your growth. Her regrets don't match your direction, and her sudden desire for your presence doesn't outweigh the peace you found in her absence. That's when you realize the truth. Sometimes a woman misses you most, the moment you become the man she was never prepared to meet. And by then, it might already be too late for her. So let me leave you with one final question, one that echoes long after this video ends. What kind of man do you become when you finally stop waiting for someone who was never meant to walk the next chapter with you? Not the man who looks back, not the man who reopens old wounds, not the man who tries to resuscitate what was already dying, but the man who chooses himself. The man who understands that silence isn't running away, it's rising above. The man who realizes his worth was never tied to her recognition, but to his own reflection. Because when a woman realizes you'll never call again, the truth becomes painfully clear for both of you. She lost a man who cared, and you found the man you were meant to become. And that man, the disciplined, grounded, self-respecting version of you, is the one who walks forward with strength instead of sorrow, purpose instead of pain, clarity instead of confusion. Your silence was never abandonment. It was rebirth. It was you stepping into your power, your peace, your path. And if she feels that loss now, it's only because she finally sees what you were offering all along. But the beauty is, you no longer need her to see it. Thank you for watching, Stoic soldiers. If this message hit you somewhere deep, if it reminded you of the man you're becoming, make sure to hit like, comment below, subscribe, and turn on notifications to join the Stoic Army. I appreciate you, I respect you, and I'll see you in the next one. Remember, silence isn't weakness, it's self-mastery.